So here we go. We're going to start talking about some new concepts here. We're going to talk about polynomials and factoring and all sorts of new and fun, exciting things. Okay. As usual, we'll look at some prerequisite skills here. Remember, these skills usually have something to do with what we're going to be studying here and skills that we need to move forward. So the first thing I want to look at is, kind of some stuff in slope-intercept form. So it says give the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of the equation. Okay, it looks like both of these are solved for y. Okay, remember that slope-intercept form is just y equals mx plus b, where m here is the slope, okay, and where b is the y-intercept. Okay, so if we look at these two equations here, this first one I have y equals 4x minus 2. Well, I would be able to kind of look at this one and say, well, my slope is 4, so remember we also call slope m, so I'm going to say my m is 4, and then my y-intercept here is actually a negative 2. So remember, we're always going to take the sign in front of each term. In fact, that actually tells us how terms are separated, are the plus and minus signs. And so this is actually just going to be our y-intercept, which we call b, is negative 2. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, we now have y equals 2/3 x plus 4/3. All right, so my slope here, remember, is just this number that's being multiplied by x, not the x itself, right? My slope in this case is a positive 2/3, or as we know it, as a rise of 2 and a run of 3. Okay, our y-intercept in this case is this positive 4/3. Okay, now when we write our answer, we don't have to say, write the plus sign like we do for a negative sign, but our y-intercept in this case is just 4/3, a positive 4/3. Okay, so I think pretty simple to start there. All right, let's go ahead and look through the next couple. We're asked to simplify. Now, when we are given an expression, okay, no equation or no equal sign, and it says to simplify, that means distribute and combine like terms. I'm just going to write CLT for that. Okay, so it looks like in number 3 there's really no distributing to do. Okay, but I know that I have like terms that I can combine. Okay, so I'm going to take this positive 2x here, and I also see a negative 7x. Okay, and I know that if I add those together, it'll give us a negative 5x. Okay, now the next two things I see a positive 5, I'll put a circle around that one, and I see a negative 7. Now remember, we're always adding like terms, we're never multiplying like terms, okay? So when I add these like terms, I know if I have 5 positives and 2 negatives and you add them up, we have 2 negatives left over. So 5x minus 2, and that is going to be my final answer here, okay? So again, I have combined like terms that is in simplest form. And the very last one we have, it looks like we have to do a little bit of distributing here. Okay, now notice this negative sign here that is outside and to the left of our parentheses. Okay, what that means, that's just a negative 1 being multiplied to both terms in that grouping. Okay, so this is now a negative 1 times 2x, and then we take negative 1 times a positive 8. Okay, so if we were to write this out in the first step now, I'm going to have the 7. Remember, the 7 is not being distributed, so we're going to leave that alone. I have negative 1 times 2x will give me a negative 2x. I then have negative 1 times positive 8, which is going to give me a negative 8. Okay, and then I can just write this minus 3 out here at the end. Okay, now I always want to put my x's before I put my regular numbers or my constants. Okay, and so I'm going to look at my x's, and it looks like I just have negative 2x here. Okay. Now I have no other x's in my other terms that I can combine there, so I'm just going to go ahead and write out my negative 2x out front here. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and look, I have a positive 7, I then have a negative 8, and a negative 3, and I'm adding all of those together. Okay, so maybe I'll just do the 7 and the negative 8 first, and I know that if I just put those two together, that's going to give me a negative 1, and I'll worry about the minus 3 here afterwards. Okay, again, I know that these are still like terms, the negative 1 and the negative 3, and if I add them together, I get a negative 4. So my final answer here in simplified form is just going to be a negative 2x and then a minus 4. Okay, And that is going to be our final answer. Okay, so I hope that these prerequisite skills help us out. I know it's going to help you be successful with these particular concepts.